in the Research Institute for Humanities at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Before I tell you about this week's speaker, just a reminder about our upcoming and final event of Term 1. On December 4th, we will be hosting Professor Rita Lucarelli from the Department of Egyptology at UC Berkeley. She will be talking to us on the topic of death in 3D, the visualizations of ancient Egyptian coffins and their virtual traveling back to the tomb. So that should be very very entertaining. Yeah, I think that'll be our first VR related talk in this series, if I'm not mistaken. So something to look forward to, definitely. Today, however, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Miss Jing Hu, who is currently a research librarian in the East Asia Department at the Berlin State Library. Ms. Hu is a social historian of Chosŏn Korea and its relations with other parts of East Asia. She received her MA degree in Cultural Informatics from the Academy of Korean Studies in 2014, after which she continued her studies as a PhD candidate at Leiden and then at KU Leuven, and I believe will be submitting her PhD very shortly. Today, however, she is going to be speaking to us on the topic of mining networks in Markus, a study of Chosŏn interpreters' trade networks in Qing China. So, without further ado, I will pass the virtual microphone over to our speaker.
Thank you. Okay. Let me share my screen. Oops. Okay. Thank you for the kind introduction, Professor McManus. I'm very happy to be here to share my study about how to use digital platforms to conduct historical research. As introduced, actually, I'm a social historian, and I have a background about informatics, but not very strong as not as strong as people from the field of computer science. So for me, the approach of conducting digital humanities research is more research question oriented. So as you will feel from my talk today, that the way I conduct digital humanities research is always focused on a few research questions. Then I will have to decide whether I use digital tools or not. Yeah, so let's start. The outline of today's presentation will be comprised of 4 parts. One is research background, then it's more about the methodology, how I mine networks from the platform which is called MARKUS, and also how I visualize the networks by using 2 platforms. One is called DocuSky and another one is called Gephi. Then the third part will be network analysis, what I discovered from the networks I built. And the final part will be some discussion or concluding remarks for my talk. So since I'm my study background is Chosŏn history, for those of you who are not familiar with East Asian history, I would like to give some very brief introduction about the tributary system. And so tributary system, you may heard as a 朝贡体系 or 察罕 朝贡 a tributary framework in scholarly research. So tributary system, usually scholars think it's a political tie between China and its Asian China and its neighboring countries. But some scholars also think tributary system is not only a diplomatic framework for China and its neighboring countries, but also a format of trade between China and other countries. Because the essential part of the tributary system is that the tribute countries, they present tributes to China, like Ming and Qing dynasty. And the emperor of China, they will always pass on gifts to the king of the tribute countries as a reward. So essentially, this kind of behavior is, can be considered as a trade. So that's why the relation between the tributary system and the trade is always intertwined in pre-modern Asian society. And also beside the tributary trade, there's always another type of trade called open market trade. So in the case of Chosŏn, the Qing and Chosŏn set a regular board trade market in Chosŏn frontier cities like Zhonggang, Haewon, and Gyeongwon. So these two kinds of trade formats formulate the economic ties between pre-modern China and Chosŏn. But today, our topic will focus on the Qing dynasty, especially the time after the 18th century. So as we already know that regularly the Chosŏn government, they need to tribute, they need to present local products to the Qing emperor. So every year they will dispatch tributary delegation from nowadays Seoul to Beijing. But the stories were not that simple because on the way from Seoul to Beijing, participants in Chosŏn's tributary delegation, they will also take opportunities to conduct private trade or even smuggling on the way. So that's what we called, in Korean, we call it as 팔포 무역, trade of 8 bundles that we call as the private trade led by traders in Chosŏn embassies. And another one is smugglings, usually through the irregular markets. The irregular markets actually scattered on the tributary route between Fenghuangcheng, the border place between Qing and Chosŏn and Beijing. So actually, if we only consider the official trade behavior, like tributary trade or open market trade, we can find a lot of resources or information regarding these two official trade, because this is officially regulated by a government treaty, and you can find lots of information in different official written history. But regarding the unofficial trade, it is a bit tricky to find clues or information about this behavior. The reason is that private trade and smuggling, they are not officially allowed by the Qing government. So traders in the Chosŏn embassies, they always need to conduct sort of underground trade for this. So we cannot find lots of details about this unofficial trade. However, if we want to know more about how Chosŏn people, they conduct private trade and smuggling, we need to gather more information. So my research actually focused on these 4 questions. How did they undertake the unofficial trade? And how did Chosŏn interpreters, whether Chosŏn interpreters have brokers in China? Because I think by themselves, it might be difficult to conduct a trade. But if they have friends or brokers in Qing China, maybe there will be, it will be easier to conduct unofficial trade. And what kind of commodities they buy from China and where they conduct the trade. As I mentioned before, information about unofficial trade is always hidden and scattered in different kind of materials. So that is why I decided to use digital tools to conduct research to answer these research questions. So the rationale here is the elusiveness of private trade and smuggling results in the fact that information on non-official trade is often fragmental and scattered. So if we only look at one single material and focus on certain narrow lineage of text, perhaps we cannot draw a relevant, complete picture of the unofficial trade. And so that is the main reason I choose a digital method to conduct this research. And by the way, I would also like to explain why I focus on Chosŏn interpreters as the main character for unofficial trade in Chosŏn. This is because Chosŏn interpreters, they were officially assigned to be the traders in the Chosŏn embassies. So when Chosŏn government dispatched embassies to Qing China, they always ask Chosŏn interpreters to conduct trade for the entire embassy. This is, of course, because they were good at speaking Chinese, and they were able to communicate with local people there. So scholars in Korean studies, sometimes they call Chosŏn interpreters as interpreters traders, because they have a strong feature of being a trader in Chosŏn dynasty. And the material primary sources. Here I mainly choose materials called Yŏnhaengnok Songjip. In Chinese, we call Yŏnhaengnok Xuanqi. This is travelogues mainly written by the embassies from Chosŏn side. Actually, we can find currently we can find more than 500 kinds of Yŏnhaengnok in Chosŏn. I mean, in Korea. But they all have different features, and they are relevant to different missions. And also they were compiled by different in different time period. Here I mainly choose 10 travelogues, which were comprised mainly in the 18th century and 19th century. And the reason for this is mainly I want to have a relative stable environment for the trading environment, because in different time period, the political environment can have a very significant influence of their trade, like the possibility of trade, and also where the trade, and also the reason the format I choose for this Yŏnhaengnok are all diaries, because diaries they have a very strong how to say lineage description of what happened from yesterday and today, and also lots of details about everyday life in diary format. There are also other format of Yŏnhaengnok, which, for example, poems. But for poems, we cannot get lots of detailed information about everyday life of Chosŏn embassy participants there, because they are too literary, and also the information there is fragmental, and sometimes we cannot judge whether there was real information or it was just fantasy of the writer. So after different considerations, I choose to focus on these 10 travel logs from Yŏnhaengnok. And I got this full text from a DB database called Korean Classics database. All the full text there are open access. That is another advantage of conducting research in Korean studies, because we can find lots of data with open access. So for this research, I just download from their website for these 10 travelogues. And after I have these 10, I have the full text of these 10 travelogues, the next step is how I mine, how I discover relations there. So here I use a platform called MARKUS. I'm not sure whether you are familiar with MARKUS. MARKUS is a digital annotation and reading platform developed by Professor Hilde de Beert. So this platform features in automatic tagging of a range of entities, such as personal names, place names, time references, and the bureaucratical offices in both Chinese and Korean texts. But besides the automatic taggable entities from Chinese and Korean texts, you can also upload your own list of keywords to let the system automatically tag the terms you want in a text. So theoretically, you can also use this platform for any language. The reason why I use MARKUS is that for this full text, after I gain the plain text, then I need to use it, make it into a machine readable format. So a machine readable format means I have to let computer to recognize, oh, this is a personal name, this is a place name, and this is maybe a entity or a term related to trade activity, which is a pre-step for the visualization of networks. So for example, First of all, I use Markus to automatic markup some name entities for me. So here I choose the function of automated markup module and let the system to mark Korean historical names and bureaucratical names, and also Korean place names and Korean books titles for me. And here, because the tributary delegation, they mainly conduct activities in the Qing China area. So there's also place names, lots of place names, Chinese place names appeared in the text. So I also let them to mark, let the system to mark place names and the Chinese official titles here, because they encountered lots of Chinese officials as well. And of course, automatic markup cannot deal with everything, because sometimes they might wrongly mark up a term. Sometimes they mark up term which is completely not related to my research, so I need to do some cleanup work. So the cleanup work is conducted in a module called menu markup module. I didn't put the screen capture here, but if you go to the system, you will find this is the second module under the automatic markup module. But besides that, as I mentioned before, you can also use other markup functions in Markus to realize your annotation need. For example, these are two examples. One is keywords helper. So you can put keywords and let the system to mark up any words between the two keywords. Here I choose an example of a place that the embassy participants, they climb up to a certain place. So I choose a verb in Chinese, deng, climb, and also a period here. And you can ask Markus to mark up all the places that people climb up to. So they will automatically find these and ask you whether to tag them or not. You can also edit if it's not relevant. You can delete this sentence from here as well. If you then after clean up, you can submit it to the system, and all the places that the writer or the embassy participants climb up, you will be automatic markup as well. The reason I'm doing this because I also focus on the places where they sightseeing in China. So I'm interested in some places where they climb up, and also I find that deng is a very frequently used verb in the text. And it's mainly related to sightseeing behaviors. So this is an example how you can use keyword helper to mark up terms that is not automatically provided by the system. And another one is called keywords clipper. This function is sort of more like a machine learning function here. So if you have marked up some still sightseeing places in the system, you can retrieve them and put them in the results here. And the system will automatically calculate in what kind of pattern you regularly do a markup here, and give you some suggestions. Word. Here it's a very for me it's a very successful output here. because on the left side, I put some sightseeing locations in Beijing, and it gives me other famous sightseeing locations which I haven't marked up in a system, like Xizhimen, Zhengyangmen, Chaoyangmen. This is very helpful to reduce my tagging burden in the text. So this is a screen capture how the final text look like in the system. So from here you will see I built different classes here, like sightseeing, meal, entertainment, accommodation, trade, market, commodities, local products, and also lots of Korean entities like official titles, Korean place names, and books, and so on. So far, I already tagged entities of different from different classes here. So the next step will be how I link the relations between two different entities. For example, here, so for a very, very simple example here, there's an entity called jiashu letter, but the behavior is here, somebody gave the family letter to Wanren. Wanren is Chosŏn traders. Somebody gave the Chosŏn trader to Wanren, to the Chosŏn traders here. So I have to mark up the relation between these letter and the people here. So for the to mark up relations or links between entities, we have to use another function in Markus, which is called relational markup. This is the interface of relational markup. So basically, you have to click one entity and click another entity and to input what kind of relations you have here. But before we build systematic relations between different entities, we first need to build an ontology of entities tagged in travelogues, because I have tagged more than 1,000 entities in 10 travelogues. If I need to systematically mark up their relations, of course, I need like a mind map. If I put it simple, in a simple way, I call it a mind map of how to do this. But in information science, we call it ontology. So an ontology is it's a system how you describe and define relations among things with certain domains. So this is an example of ontology of the trade road of in the trade road in Korean envoys travelogues. So you can see I built different classes and also built relations of between different classes. For example, Chosŏn people, they can be acquaintance of Qing people, and the Qing merchants, they of course can have a relation called trade with Chosŏn people, but also bribed relation or brokered relation with commodities. So with this ontology, I was able to systematically tag or mark up the links between different entities based on all the tagged classes. To show you an example here, and here is the explanation of different relations and also the trigger words here. The trigger words is whenever I see these verbs in the text, I will consider the relation types between different entities. For example, treated with, we can see lots of trigger words which can comply to this relation, like 买、购、卖、售、估价、求售、交易、冒取、唱价, and so on. And another example, like bribed. So for some people, they could also bribe to Qing functionary for a smoother processing of something. So here, when I see characters like 贿赂、媚、给银, I will immediately consider whether there's a behavior like a bribe here between different people. So I build relations between different entities, and also consider the trigger words in the text. Then I use the relational markup function in MARKUS to input these relations. And here in the interface, there's also a small column called metadata. This is also automatic, not automatic by the system. It's manually input by me. So I also set different trait here. In this example, we can see I put root trait, but there are also smugglings and also border trait, and one is Beijing trait, because there's also lots of activities conducted in Beijing. Then after I mark up all the relations in MARKUS, I can export all of these markup information into another platform, which is called DocuSky. DocuSky is a platform developed by Digital Humanities Center at the National Taiwan University. It's a very comprehensive research platforms. You can read your text there, but you can also conduct research by using their embedded tools. So like Ngram, and also for writing style measurement, and also GIS. They have very, very diverse functions there. So if you have an opportunity, yeah, please take a look at the DocuSky platform. But for me, in my research, I mainly use their function of network visualization. So after I mark up all the relevant information from MARKUS, I export the text to DocuSky and build sort of my personal database there. And as you can see from this example, they visualized all the tagged entities here, and also the relations between different entities. And since DocuSky is merged, DocuSky, let's put it this way, since the information I put in a DocuSky is a merged information, which means previously I tagged entities in MARKUS for the 10 text, 10 travelogues, all by individual. There were 10 different documents. But after I export to DocuSky, these 10 travel logs, they were merged into one document. So within this integration, I was also able to search different networks cross documents. So this is an example that I want to know what kind of smugglings that I tagged from Markus, and therefore what kind of smuggling networks they have. So I just put in the keywords Jing Hu in classic Chinese, which means contraband goods in English in DocuSky, and the documents will automatically retrieve all the relevant entities and also information, and visualize the smuggling network here. However, using DocuSky, you cannot do statistics because DocuSky, they only have the simple visualization function. You cannot calculate the degrees of each node. So in this case, I will need to export all the data to another network analysis software, which is called Gephi. So this is the output from Gephi. Of course, I did some data cleaning work here again. For example, in the text, they may use different terms for interpreters, 译官. Sometimes they can call it 通译, sometimes 通关, sometimes 翻译. For this, because they all refer to one category, interpreters, so I choose one label to unify these nodes. So after unifying these terms, I export the data to Gephi and visualize the trade network in another way. From here, I can conduct statistics with different degree. So here I focus on who play the most essential part in networks by using betweenness centrality, and visualize the nodes by the rank of their betweenness centrality. As we can see here, Yi Guan was definitely the most important people in this trade. And also we can see some place names. They were also quite frequently mentioned and also have lots of connections with different commodities or traders here. For example, Xiamen here, and also Beijing market, Yanshi, and some small markets in Beijing like Liulichang or Longfusi. And here on the right upper side, you can see a place called Zhonghousuo. It's actually relatively important in a trade. But here, since I focus on people, the brokers in the trade network, so I have a table and the rank there between the centrality, and I can find the interpreters and groom, Lantou, like a delivery organization in Qing, and also Wanxiang Chosŏn traders from Beiju, and Qingxiang Chosŏn, Qing traders, and also Xuban in Beijing, and also Tuanlianshi, this kind of small functionaries in Qing. They all participate in the trade networks. And of course, because in the in a stage when I was input relations between different entities, I also marked the types of the trade, like border trade, smuggling, Beijing trade, and route trade, as I mentioned before. I can also retrieve the networks by using this sort of trade type. Here I use smuggling again to retrieve the networks of how the Chosŏn people conduct smuggling, and we will have a more complete picture of this. So as we can see, there are mainly 3 types of commodities involved in this smuggling. That they are horses, can be Qing horses, and also horses from Chosŏn, and also red ginseng and the books. And for participants, we can see interpreters, private merchants, Qing merchants, and also 团练使, how to say, like a security people for the Chosŏn embassy. They all participate in the smuggling behavior. And about location here, it's mainly the green notes, like 沙河所, 琉璃厂, and 隆福寺. 琉璃厂 and 隆福寺, they are the main locations for the book smuggling. And for horses smuggling, there were 2 places. For Qing horses was mainly conducted in Shenyang, and for Chosŏn horses, they were conducted in a place called 沙河所. And also within DocuSky, I was also able to create maps for the trade behavior, because in the MARKUS, I already tagged all the locations related to the unofficial trade behavior, and these locations can be automatic converted into longitude and altitude within DocuSky. The function for this is called DocuGIS in DocuSky. So I mapped all the places which involved the unofficial trade here, and we can see where they conducted this unofficial trade. And I circled them and mainly divided them into 4 trade circles according to the commodities. So the first one is Beijing circle and the Yongping circle. Here was mainly the places where they bought luxury stuff, or papers, inks, bamboo brushes, and paintings, books, and so on. And another circle is here Jingzhou circle, and also here Fengtian near the Shenyang city. For this place, they mainly conducted commodities like fur-made stuff, because in this area there are lots of mountains, and the people here, they were good at making fur stuff, so they bought lots of hats and also clothes here. And also then another one is a border trade area, mainly Fenghuangcheng. Here is a relatively comprehensive market here, because they could buy all kinds of stuff, not only fur stuff produced by the northeast area, but also luxury stuff transported to this border area. But very surprisingly, I also find in this border area, they also have very unique commodities like lychee and ginger and also seaweed. Some of them it is quite apparent some of them were transported from south area of China, and some of them actually were from Japan. So this border trade market is actually sort of quite international market in 17th and 19th centuries, because they know both Chinese merchants and Korean merchants, they will come here to do trade exchanges. So not only people living in North China or Northeast China, but also people from the South or even Japan, they will come here to join the trade. So this is a table about different circles and what kind of commodities, and also the sources where I find this information. These are all automatically provided by DocuGIS. I didn't make a separate table by myself, because in DocuGIS, they will also provide all the entities you tagged in a form, and also the its relations to places here. So as a final, some final remarks, for example, Chosŏn interpreters, they had brokers not only from the Chosŏn team, but also from Qing. And in smuggling networks, we find mainly horses, books, and red ginseng were the main items involved for smuggling behavior. And also the patterns in the geographical distribution of these commodities were mainly divided by the Shanghai Guan path. So Shanghai Guan is located here. You can see in the Shanghai Guan area is mainly luxury food, or more, how to say, civilized items related to more civilized life. But the outer Shanghai Guan is more about the furs. And also as a holistic view, it shows Chosŏn interpreters, actually they played multiple roles. They are not only the official traders assigned by the Chosŏn court, but also they themselves were smugglers and brokers for forbidden items. And also it's more general views how I look at the tributary system. It's not a fixed regulation for the form of diplomatic relations between China and foreign countries, but also it's a arena where ordinary Chosŏn people and the Qing people, they can participate for their social and economic life. All of these conclusions, I think, for me, it could be difficult without the use of digital tools. As I mentioned before, scholars usually focus one very linear, but also relatively narrow text. It is difficult to have a more comprehensive overview of these networks. But with the help of digital tools, I can have a relatively more complete picture of these networks like this one. And we'll see the relations between different people and the places and the communities. This is the main reason why I would like to choose digital tools for my research. But also MARKUS or digital platforms, they are not full of advantages. Of course, there are also some shortcomings of using platform like Markus. For example, the Markus, because it was initially designed for analysis of Chinese text, so lots of functions in Markus, they are more or less only designed for the paradigm of Chinese studies. For example, lots of era names in the automatic markup module, they can only recognize Chinese era names. But since for Korean text, they also use their own Korean era names. In that case, we cannot use the automatic markup module to mark up Korean time period. Then I have to do that manually. But also these critics also reflect the fact currently we haven't have a very good research platform for Korean studies. Currently, the tendency is that sinologists, they develop a good platform and they will consider to have an extension version like Markus. They have a K Markus version, which is used for Korean version, but also DocuSky. They recently they developed the interface for Korean users. And also for their DocuGIS, they can automatically recognize Korean place names, Korean place names. For me, this is not enough, of course. I would like to see Korean scholars, they will develop research platforms for Korean studies in the future, which will include more sophisticated tools to deal with typical Korean issues. But so far, I haven't seen such a platform in the field of Korean studies. But I look forward one day I will see a platform for Korean studies. Yes. So this is today's presentation. Maybe some parts will be too rushed. I didn't explain very well, but you can find a paper I published last year about how I conduct this research in the Digital Journal of International Journal of Digital Humanities. And there will be, quite soon, there will be a Chinese version translated by myself to be published in Digital Humanities by the Tsinghua University quite soon. Don't know when it will come out, but yeah, by the end of this year, I believe so. Yeah, thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much for the presentation, and yeah, for all these sort of interesting, both I guess sort of methodological insights and advice, and also for the larger sort of historical narrative that you put forward. So we now have about 20 minutes or half an hour for questions and comments and different sorts of things. Those of you in the audience who want to ask a question, if you could type it in the chat, and then I'll relay it to our speaker, just in the normal way. Maybe I'll sort of start off, however, with sort of a general question. You talked a lot, especially at the beginning and the end, about when to choose, you know, when or when not to use a digital methodology, and you sort of spoke about the particular case you were interested in, but do you have a sort of any more, I guess, generalized advice for graduate students who you know, they're starting off on a research project, they have maybe a sort of a general area, but they don't know, they haven't conducted the research yet. In your opinion and in your experience, are there any particular sort of areas that particularly lend themselves to these or other digital methodologies? And conversely, are there times when you should just use a more traditional approach?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Of course, for me, there's no must that I have to use digital tools. It always depends on the research questions. But for me, if I see, of course, first of all, the material should be at least available. So that means we have to better to find the full text from the different databases or open access. Then this is the basic, just like we have the primary source to continue our research. Then I will also look at the primary source, of course, a digital format, whether they have good patterns. So if I see, for example, from the travelogues, I see lots of entities, they repeatedly appeared in the text, then I will consider to use digital tools to tag these. And also something I would like to visualize, then I cannot draw by myself. In that case, I will also consider whether I can use softwares or digital platforms to realize visualization, because I think, well, for visualization, there can be, of course, there can be different reasons. Some people, they would like to have a clear map. Some people they would like to conduct a network analysis. So it's not only visualization, but also more statistical analysis involved. Then we also need digital tools. But if you want to conduct a research based on textual material, the first thing is still is that whether you can observe certain patterns from the text, because for digital tools, what they can do for us is to deal with repetitive work. So if they repeatedly appear in a text, or you see lots of patterns, in that case, you can consider to use digital tools. That is my own experience or my own idea of when to use digital tools to conduct your research. But I do believe other scholars, they might have different thoughts, and they can give you more reasons to convince you to use digital tools. But what I think is, what I suggested is just a very practical way, I think. If you cannot observe any patterns from the text, then I think it's not a must that you have to use a digital tool. A traditional research method will also help you. Yeah.
And maybe just a follow-up question to that. Has your approach to your project changed with the sudden explosion in large language models? In terms of distant reading, automatically marking things up, because Markus obviously predates the kind of this modern AI revolution, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Actually, recently I also did an experiment to use ChatGPT to help me to retrieve entities from text, and I compare that with MARKUS. In general, because I haven't conducted very diverse experiments with different texts or from different languages, I only use Japanese material to do that. I think it's quite accurate at the end. So it's not bad if you just ask ChatGPT to help you to extract entities from your text. But for MARKUS, because it's not only annotation platform, it also has other functions. It will be more convenient for me to use MARKUS to realize all the functions I want. For example, the links between different entities. This is quite how to say, content required process, because yeah, I'm not sure ChatGPT will really understand the relations between different entities and give you a very correct links. I doubt that. I think it still strongly requires human readings here. For example, I show your table of the trigger words and different relations between different entities. Of course, ChatGPT can scan the text very quickly and give you a quick answer as soon as it's find the trigger words in the text. But then we also have to depend on human readings to really judge, oh, this is a correct links within the context. So for various reasons, I still prefer using MARKUS. But of course, if your text is beyond Chinese or Korean text, I will suggest you to use ChatGPT to track the entities you would like. For example, the Japanese, because MARKUS, it has a like a J version of MARKUS, so it cannot automatically recognize Japanese entities. In that case, you can use AI mode to help you to extract some information from the text. But I believe for other languages, ChatGPT will also do a great job. Yeah.
And so the different East Asian versions of MARKUS, and I think you mentioned also DocuSky, tend to be within these kind of national paradigms. They have a kind of Chinese, they have a they have a K version. They might have a J version. There isn't a kind of literary Sinitic. The model is national rather than civilizational or cultural.
Well, it's more so the original MARKUS version is based on as I mentioned, for the research paradigm for Chinese studies. So the K version actually, they didn't change the internal machinism of MARKUS. They only added more dictionaries for the recognition of Korean entities. Of course, the interface, they changed it into Korean language. So this internally, there's no machinism difference between these versions, but only what kind of dictionaries you can choose. But actually in MARKUS, I also find it very convenient for me to tag both Chinese entities and Korean entities without switching to different versions, because in the automatic markup module, you can select, as I showed in the screen capture in the very beginning of my presentation, you can choose both Chinese and Korean entities. I think this is an advantage for people who are conducting transnational studies like me. So you don't have to use a Chinese-focused platform only for the Chinese part, or then switch to a Korean platform only for the Korean part. Within Markus, I find it's quite smooth to do transnational analysis.
That's a good point, especially as I guess transnational history becomes relatively more popular, perhaps, than it was in the past. We have a colleague here who's working a lot on the Imjin War.
Oh, okay.
And so these sort of topics, I guess, would lend themselves to these sort of approaches. Okay, great. So we have a couple of questions that have been sent to me in the chat. The first question is, can you say what the most surprising aspect of your findings are, and how has it changed the historiography?
Well, changing historiography is too big. Yeah, but using this network analysis, what I find most surprising me is the network of smuggling. Because of course, I read articles written by previous scholars. They all mentioned the flow of smuggling within the tributary route. However, I never seen a relatively complete picture of how this smuggling activities really flowed within all the China. For example, previous research, they only focus on Beijing and a certain item, usually silk, that was very popular for this smuggling topic. But we don't know the facts beyond the Beijing circle, and we don't know other items besides silk trade. So it's quite good to know we have a comprehensive picture of this smuggling, and also it helps me to find more details, like small places like Shahesuo. It is actually quite seldom mentioned in previous studies that people show attention to this small place. And within networks, I know this is very important place for the smuggling of horses. So the Chosŏn trader, they brought horses from Chosŏn, from Korea, and they traded in a very unknown place like Shahesuo here. And later in Shahesuo, of course, they have other activities related, and we can know what kind of people they also participated in the smuggling in such an unknown place. So I would not say using digital humanities will always help to change historiography, but it is quite useful to help us find more details that we couldn't find without the digital approach.
We also have a question related to economic history, which I guess sort of connects to your response to some degree. I think what the person is asking is, are there sort of economic insights? I guess there are no sort of numbers and figures, but can it tell you about sort of trade in this period in more detail than would otherwise be possible?
Sorry, I couldn't understand the question.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so the question, so literally what the questioner asks here is, how does your analysis affect the economic history of the period? Yeah.
Wow, this is very, very big question. Economic history. Well, because my focus is more from from the perspective of social history. So I showed more attention, I paid more attention to the roles of participants in the trade network. For economic history, indeed, I haven't conduct very deep research for this, but I find some still I find some interesting details like I like what I mentioned at the very end of my presentation. The border trade, actually, the Fenghuangcheng trade is a very very interesting market that you can not only find items from northern China, northeast China, but also South China and Japanese, and also some Japanese stuff there. So this might be a clue for economic historians to continue their study to see the role of the border trade market in the 17th and 19th century. Because currently, when people think of the border trade, they were all only connected to the tributary system, or they think it's just it's the one of the largest station where Chosŏn embassies stay there and have lots of how to say inspections there. But if we think it, put it in a more economic, historical context, maybe people will have different perspective. But what I find is Qing can also serve as a small clue for future studies. But for myself, it's not a very economic research here. Yeah.
Sense. That makes sense. Maybe I'll interject with a quick question here to move us kind of back to our digital humanities kind of focus. Most of the speakers we've had in this series come from, I guess, a more Anglo-American tradition. You're trained in the Netherlands and then are now working in Germany. Do you feel there's a sort of a different approach, perhaps within this kind of informatique kind of world, as opposed to computer science, digital humanities kind of world, or do you think of it as a sort of as a fairly sort of international kind of discipline?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. Of course, if we look at the development history of digital humanities, it started from how to say Latin scripts, especially linguistics studies. They are very advantaged at how to deal with text. Latin text with digital tools. It was quite recent, maybe 15 years or 10 years that people in the field of Asian studies start to show attention to digital humanities. But based on my own experience, the methodology actually is universal. So we always require full text, and before that we will from the end of library, we will more focus on the OCR technique, and then we will think how to we will have full text after OCR. Then we will have to think how we use these full text in a digital environment. I think the general methodology is same and universal, but for non-Latin scripts, it requires more technical input for example, Chinese characters, they require Unicode, and also Korean scripts also require Unicode. For the Unicode, this is also quite a big research field for informatics scholars they have to deal with. And for among East Asian studies, China, Korean, Japan, they all use Unicode for the same character, but the Unicode can be different. So how to unify Unicodes within East Asia, or sometimes Vietnamese materials, they also use Chinese characters. How to unify this Unicode is another problem. So I think for Asian scholars, we have our own subject to discuss in terms of digital humanities, but also for different studies, we can see there are different patterns. For example, Chinese sinologists, they like developing platforms like MARKUS and DocuSky. These are two very well-known platforms for sinology. For Korean studies, they like to develop data and data sets and make it open access. This is the feature of digital Korean studies. For Japanese studies, I don't have much knowledge. I'm sorry for that, because they look relatively low-key. Yeah, but so far, my impression is that they are very good at converting cursive manuscripts into full text. That's what I know about digital Japanese studies. It depends on your perspective. If you see digital humanities as a discipline, then I think it's quite universal. But if you look at more details, Latin script and non-Latin script will have different research topics. And also, if you combine your research with individual discipline, for example, I'm doing social history studies. So there will be more specific digital methods engaged with social historian research. For example, social networks analysis is a quite common used methodology in digital social history studies. So it's endless. Depends on how detailed you want to look at, or how broad you want to talk about this topic.
No, that's a great overview. Thank you very much. So maybe we'll sort of round things off with a couple of questions that I guess are meant to help the students in the audience. So I guess the first question is, if you were starting again, if you were to start your research again, how would you do it differently? And then the second question is, do you have any, I guess, more general advice for graduate students?
If I started again, well, I remember several years ago when I decided to conduct my PhD study with digital tools, my supervisor asked me have to always keep myself tracked in the field, because this field develops so fast. Once I fall behind, maybe I will the method I use will not be new advanced in the field anymore. So nowadays, the OpenAI, the appearance of OpenAI is quite a big challenge for my study. So as you can see in my presentation, I didn't involve any use of OpenAI, because I do this research from data to the final analysis like 2 years ago. At that time, we haven't have any OpenAI. But if I have an opportunity to restart this work, I will consider more use of OpenAI. Like as I introduced for previous questions, I can use ChatGPT to retrieve entities for me and do some comparison for that. Yeah, maybe visualization will also be different, because I know ChatGPT, they can also help you to program and make a network visualization as well. And some general suggestions for young students. If you are interested in digital tools or digital methods, I would like to suggest you learn some basic coding and knowledge of informatics, because you have to know what kind of computer, what kind of language that computer can understand. So when you I mean, in the future, you will definitely use computer language to code by yourself, because software or digital platforms cannot satisfy all of your demands. When you have a very, very specific requirement for your own study, you will need to learn how to code by yourself. In that case, if you already have some basic knowledge of coding and know the environment of computer, then it will be easier for you to create your own research environment with the help of ChatGPT. So you don't have to learn all the coding by yourself. You just have to know what the ChatGPT tell you to do, and when there's a small bug or technical problem, you know where to revise that and how to improve that. That is my general suggestion for young students.
Great, that's very helpful. As you know, here at CUHK, there are increasing numbers of digital humanities related courses, and of course students interested in integrating computational methods into their research. So it's great to hear. It's great to hear your thoughts on how best to approach it.